When I started SpaceX, it was actually, I thought that, well, there's no way one could possibly start a rocket company. I wasn't that crazy. But then I thought that, well, what is a way to increase NASA's budget? That was actually my initial goal. So if we can do low-cost mission to Mars, something called Mars Oasis, which is run with cis dehydrated nutrient gel, you hydrate them upon landing, and then you have this a great sort of money shot of green plant on red background. A public tends to respond to a present and spiritive. This would be the first life. This would be the first life on Mars, the furthest life ever traveled, as far as we know. So that would get people really excited, and therefore increase NASA's budget. Obviously, the financial outcome from such a mission would probably be zero. Anything better than that was on the upside. So I actually went to Russia. I actually went to Russia 3 times to look at buying refurbished SCBM because that was the best deal. I can tell you it was very rare going there in 2001, 2002, going to the Russian rocket forces and saying, I'd like to buy 2 of your biggest rocket, but you can keep the nuke. That's no more. That was 10 years ago, I guess, so they thought that I was crazy, but I did have money, so that was okay. After making several trips to Russia, I came to the conclusion that my initial impression was wrong because my initial thought was there's not enough will to explore and expand beyond Earth and have a Mars basis and that kind of things. But I came to the conclusion that was wrong. In fact, there's a plenty of will, particularly in the United States. The United States is a nation of explorer. People came here from other parts of the world. The United States really distillation of spirit of human exploration. But if people think it's impossible, or it's going to completely break the federal budget, they're not going to do it. So after my third trip, I said, okay, well, what we really need to do here is try to solve space transport problem and start a SpaceX. This was against the advice of pretty much everyone I talked to. One friend made me sit down and watch a bunch of videos of rocket blowing up. Let me tell you, he wasn't far wrong. It was tough going there in the beginning. Because I never built anything physical. Because I never built anything. I mean, I built like a little model rocket as a kid. I never had a company that built anything physical, and that I had to figure out how to do all of these things and bring together the right team of people, and we did all that and then failed 3 times. It was tough going because the thing about rocket is the passing rate is 100%. You don't get to actually test a rocket in the real environment that it's going to be in. I think the best analogy for the rocket engineering is if you're gonna create a really complicated data software, you can't run software as an integrated whole. You can't run it on the computer it's intended to run on. For the first time you put it all together and run it on the computer, it must run with no bugs. That's basically the essence of it. So we missed the mark there. First launch, I was picking up a piece of rocket near the launch site. It was a bit sad. But we landed with 8 successful flights. And we are able to eventually, with first flights in 2008, reach the orbit. That was also with last bit of money that we had. Thank goodness that happened. I think the first time the charm. We got the Falcon 1 to orbit and then began to scale that up to the Falcon 9, which is about an order of magnitude more, a thrust, around 1 million pound thrust. And we managed to get that to orbit and develop the Dragon spacecraft, which recently was able to dock and return to Earth from space station. Thanks. That was quite an active event. it's huge relief. I still can't quite believe it actually happened. But there's a lot more that must happen beyond this in order for humanity to become space-faring civilization, ultimately planetary species. I think it's vitally important, and I hope that some of you will participate in that, either at SpaceX or at the other companies, because it is really one of the most important things for the preservation and the extension of consciousness. I mean, it's worth noting, as I'm sure people are aware, that the Earth has been around for billion years, and the civilization, at least in terms of having writing, it's been around for 10,000 years. That's been generous. That's somehow tenuous existence. That is civilization and consciousness, as we know it's been on Earth. And I think I'm very optimistic about the future of Earth. I don't wanna people to have wrong impression that we are about to die. The thing will most likely be okay for a long time on Earth, but not for sure, but most likely. But even if sort of 99% likely, 1% chance is still worth spending a bit fair effort to ensure that we've backed up the biosphere in planetary redundancy, if we will. So I think it's really quite important. So in order to do that, there's a breakthrough that needed to occur, which is to create a rapidly, completely reusable transport system to Mars, which is one of those things that right on the borderline of if impossible. And that's sort of things that we're gonna try to achieve there with SpaceX. And then on the Tesla front, the goal with Tesla was really try to show what electric car can do, because people have a wrong impression. We had to change people's perception of an electric vehicle. Because they used to think of it something as, something that was slow and ugly and low range, kind of like golf cart. So that's why we created a Tesla Roadster to show that you can be fast, attractive, and long range. And it's amazing how even though you can show something works on paper and the calculations are very clear, until you actually have the physical object that can drive it, it doesn't really sink in for people. So we made a Tesla Roadster thinking for people. But if you have an actual demonstration article, even if it's in primitive form, that's much more effective to call. But if you have an actual demonstration article, even if it's in primitive form, that's much more effective for convincing people. So I think it's something worth noting. If you're gonna create a company, the first thing you should try to do is create a working prototype. Everything looks great on PowerPoint. You can make anything on PowerPoint. But if you have an actual demonstration article, even if it's in primitive form, that's much more effective for convincing people. So we made a Tesla Roadster, and now we are coming in soon with the Model S, which is four-door sedan. Because after we made the Tesla Roadster, people said, "Oh, sure, we always knew you could make a car like that. That's expensive car, and it's low volume and small, and all that. but you couldn't make the real car. I'm like, okay, fine, we're gonna make that too. So that's coming out soon. So I think the where things are, and hopefully there are some lessons to be drawn there. And I think the overarching point I want to make is that you guys are magicians of the 21st century, and don't let anything hold you back. Imagination is the limit. Go out there, create some magic. Thank you.